What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to BitcoinEasy.io and another Bitcoin analysis. Of course, the weekly close today, massive one. Weekly candle closing. Yesterday we had the 3-day close, and yeah, we get into everything. But before anything, guys, a lot of new followers here. Really appreciate it. Warm welcome to all you guys, and really nice to see how the channel is growing and the engagement we're getting now, and of course also really nice for everyone who's stuck around for all these months now and has been here following my analysis on the channel. So a big thank you for that. And yeah, guys, I hope you're all having an awesome Sunday and you're looking forward to another great week for crypto. And in general, I mean, we got a big trigger event coming up next week, and already spoke about it in the past here. Massive one here for crypto and markets in general. If you want to find out about these things, by the way, guys, go over to bitcoineasy.io and head into the crypto loop. It's the easiest way to catch all the news and analytics here in this one-stop shop for news and analytics as far as crypto and financial news and everything goes that has an impact on Bitcoin and the crypto markets, right? And then if you scroll down here, you can see the global economic calendar. I already sorted it by just US events. You can also choose G20 and individual countries, so you get the view of whatever is happening in the world, the important events from whatever criteria you prefer. And there you can see May 7th. Of course, the event starts on May 6th. The FOMC meeting is always a 2-day event. And then on May 7th at 8 p.m. Central European time, we get the announcement from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell about the new rates, right? We are forecasting here 4.375, which of course is exactly the number between the previous rates between 4.5 and 4.25. And the market has currently priced in that the rates stay the same. So if we see a cut, which there is potential for due to the weakening economy, then we will see some positive price action for Bitcoin, crypto, and other markets in general as well. And of course, if things stay the same, then we have to look at the exact levels that we're at and consider price action that everything is priced in already. So really, really interesting right now. And of course, this will have a big impact if we see any change here for the crypto markets as well. Always a very volatile moment as well before these announcements come. So really make sure to be around on Wednesday and watch the charts for some potential opportunities. Right, guys, and to stay up to date with everything as far as announcement goes and Bitcoin, crypto, and charts in general, make sure to follow me over on X as well. This is how you get my complete analysis between YouTube and X. I will be also posting videos on X from next week. The same format as here basically, but just it's way easier to do it over next. So I want to try it out there too. So Pat does crypto over there. And now, guys, what we're going to do, as per usual, top-down analysis starting on the weekly chart, going down into the 3-day chart, and then the daily chart and the 4-hourly chart to wrap it up. And yeah, guys, hope you are enjoying my analysis so far. If you have any suggestions for anything else that you want to see on the channel, make sure to get down there in the comments and let me know. And while you're at it, smash up that like button. And if you're not subscribed yet, make sure to do so and hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I upload new videos here on the channel. So let's go here into the weekly chart now. You can see it here, a massive spot as it has been in the last few weeks in general. First of all, we put in our bottom here. We finally ended up going down to the 50-week SMA there and almost reached the exact area here that we were aiming at, since we've been in the range between 100k and 95k up here. The range that we currently actually here on a weekly closing basis are trying to reclaim now, which is our key resistance level. That'll become way more obvious on the 3-day chart and the daily chart in a second. But yeah, so far so good, right? The one thing we got to keep an eye on is here that this range here that we have been in last year for about 6 months, starting to look very, very similar, or the one we're in right now is starting to look very similar to the one that we have been in there. So I'll get into that in a second. First of all, I want to look at the key confirmation levels here, and then we'll break it down as far as this fractal goes, right? Not a big fan of these things, but hey guys, this is a good way to be prepared for multiple scenarios, as you have to be as a trader or investor. You always want to be able to flip your bias whenever the charts give you a reason to do so. Otherwise, you just get stuck in your positions and you become one of those diamond hand hodlers that holds their positions throughout different markets and always forgets to hit the sell button, right? So here you know that this is the Fibonacci retracement for the current downtrend here coming from the all-time high to our current 74.4K bottom. And there we've been observing in recent weeks that we've been trading below the 38.2 here. And as we always say, once the 38.2 breaks or starts giving us resistance or support, depending on the trend, of course, then the 61.8 has a massive hit rate. So with the previous week's candle, we went straight up there to the 61.8. Now we poked above it there, and you can see that we're currently here sitting below it. So that will be our task here for the bulls for this week or the coming weeks to start closing above here. And that also lays in alignment here with a key support level of this range here, from where it became decisive for Bitcoin, whether it's holding and continuing upwards to new all-time highs or going down to our target area of 74 and 72K. And yeah, that's a key level right here, right at 96K, almost on the dollar actually. This is where we want to see Bitcoin back above here. And then also this key area here comes into play. You can see this is a very strong previous areas of interest here where we had massive resistance previously, with multiple rallies that ended up failing in that area while they were trying to challenge the previous all-time highs. And there we can see that we also are forming a trend line here on a weekly closing basis, right? If we connect the two tops, this is a key area here. We don't want to confirm this trend line with a third touch point, and therefore we want Bitcoin to close above here. And the 99,600 is a very strong level for the bulls to see a close above, and then we have basically nothing in our way here to challenge the 78.6, also the line in the sand for the Fibonacci retracement, which sits here in alignment with our prior high. And there we need a close just above 102,700 roughly. And then that is basically the last milestone before we're heading towards new all-time highs, right? So really interesting here from a bullish perspective. And then of course, to give the ball to the bears, to put it in their court, then we would have to close below here 93,600 roughly. There's of course here the key support level that we just reclaimed, coming here from the closing of those prior lows from this range up here. This is the exact level. You can see we reclaimed it here with this candle. We just poked above it, continued upwards, got a retest here, and are now currently trading above there. So keep that number in mind here, right around 93,600. Very, very important. And then we want to find a bounce somewhere in this range. If we start falling below there, then we ideally want to find a bounce here in this area and stay above here. Very important, coming here from these previous support levels that have led us to multiple all-time highs, right? You can see many touch points in this area. So right around 91,300, that will become clearer on a daily closing basis in a second, but that's the key level. Otherwise we get down here. And as I told you, if we reach that level here, which is of course very logical support, since it represents the prior range highs here and also the 38.2 in the area, but then of course we run the risk that all this here becomes resistance again, and that we continue with a consolidation phase and basically likely to trade sideways and down from that point on throughout the summer. So really key here to get a bounce here somewhere in the area between 91,300 and the mid 90Ks. And we really want to continue closing above here on a weekly closing basis above 93,600 to maintain this key range here and these key levels here as support. And now let's get into the fractal here, right? We can see here that from this perspective, right, if we look at this downtrend here, right, of where we've broken the prior high now, or we actually, you can see here right down here, and we're actually sitting at the neckline from where we dropped off. This was the prior high here in this downtrend. And there you can see it was very likely we put on these two tops here on a closing basis with a lower low bias, right? Here, printed this low, then a lower low. And then we continued downwards here. Then we broke here the prior high in this downtrend, came up again, but got rejected again, formed another lower high, and then eventually came back up from here, right? So that's a very similar scenario right now. We still run the chance here that we form this trend here, the same trend basically that we had down here. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? We take the trend line here and we connect those tops here. We can see that we have a very clear downsloping trend line here. And if we don't start breaking above here, right, above the area that I just mentioned, and get a close somewhere between 99,500 to 100K here on a weekly closing basis, then and start getting rejected in this area, then it starts looking a lot like this. And then we have to consider that we might revisit at least the area here in the 87 to 89K range to find a bounce there and potentially continue in this trend then. And that then leads me again to believe that our top is in here for the rally and that we're consolidating throughout the summer, right? I've spoken about this in the past many times. And of course, we have to know exactly what the key levels are there that we need to break and to confirm above to avoid this scenario. And that's this key area right up here between, right, 99K, 99.5K and 100,000 here is a very good number that we want to see on a weekly closing basis. And then, of course, potential retest of that area and then continuation upwards. So that would be an ideal scenario. And then you also see here that we started printing here lower lows, lower highs and lower lows in this downtrend. We now printed a higher high here, but of course we need to confirm this as a trend reversal and also print a higher low at some point. And therefore we see this area down here, the one I just mentioned, with the bottom area somewhere in the mid 90K region, mid to low 90K region. That's where we want to find a bounce. And then once again here, close above, really important, above here, ideally on a weekly closing basis, 93,500. On a daily closing basis, 91,300. I'll get into that in a second. And yeah, guys, let's move on here. Very clear everything, I hope, here from a weekly perspective. Yesterday, we had a massive close here on the 3-day chart. And there we can see that we closed just above here, above the prior closing lows here of this range that we just saw here on a weekly chart that you see right here, which is basically represented, the support of it, by the 61.8 here. So right around $96,000 on the dot. And there we see here that we just poked above it here. Here the key number is right around 95,800 roughly. And we just managed to close above there. Now we're having a retest here of the support. So what we really want to see here on a 3-day closing basis is that we stay above 95,800 here and then continue upwards here to challenge the 98K region, which of course has been our target here after breaking this area up here, right? We broke back above here and I told you guys, if we start seeing closes above the 95K area, then it's very likely that Bitcoin continues upwards towards 98 and 100K, which of course represents the top of the range here on a closing basis. And then if you look at the wicks here, that's on a trading basis right around 100K. So that's still the likely scenario here that we go up to that area, but now it becomes very interesting whether we do it right away. And for that, we need to look at these key confirmation levels that I keep mentioning to the downside. And therefore, it's very important here, if we want to see an immediate move to that area, then that we stay above 95,800. To the downside, it becomes very clear here once again. This range right here on a closing basis, we want to stay above this closing low here, right around 92,500. And we have potential here to trade downwards towards 91,300 here, coming from this low back in February, which lines up perfectly with all these touch points here in this key area in the mid 90K section, from where Bitcoin, of course, has found massive demand previously many times and printed multiple all-time highs. So really, really key area to hold here, and a very nice area also for Bitcoin to print a higher low here in this current uptrend, right? So there you see it once again here. We really want a close above 91,300 here on a 3-day closing basis, right? And this is a very, very logical support level for Bitcoin here to confirm a higher low and then continue upwards. So interesting, guys, really interesting. And then, of course, afterwards, if we manage to do all that and then continue upwards from there and don't fall down here into this key area in the 87 to 89K region, then we, of course, have to see that we break this area here on a weekly closing basis still right around 99,500 to 100K. Really important to continue upwards then and challenge our current all-time highs by continuing here in this uptrend, right? And then what else we got here on the 3-day chart? To the upside, everything is clear. The key levels here to the downside, the same. Of course, everything is started here from reclaiming here or confirming support on the 100 SMA on the 3-day chart, which has been our key indicator here throughout the bull market, our support level that kept the price above it throughout here since we reclaimed it here back in early 2023 and started confirming it as support. That's very similar to the 50-week SMA, which is always a strong indicator for the start or confirmation level for the start of bull markets and also for the end of bull markets. And yeah, guys, that's basically it here on the 3-day chart. And let me just check my notes quickly here. What else I wanted to cover? Yeah, that's basically it here, right? So 95.8, the key level here to the downside. This is where we want to hold above now. And then here to break and to continue upwards towards 102K here. We really want to break 98,350 on a 3-day closing basis. Now the daily chart here. Very similar, guys. Very, very similar. We're trying to hold the support here from the same range that we just saw on the 3-day chart. Of course, here, way more candlesticks, but the same thing here. We see the previous range closing low. So we want to confirm this area support again. We see that we broke above it here, continued upwards here. And now we have to be careful that doesn't start to look like a very strong reversal pattern by engulfing this previous bullish candle here. And if we start closing below 94,200, then we can see that the continuation is very likely downwards here to this key area that we just mentioned a million times here, right around 92K to 91,300. 91,300, the bottom of the area that we want to stay above here as well on a daily closing basis. But we see that there's support below there in the area of 91K to the low 90K area, which of course is then here the 200-day SMA and the 23.6 of the Fibonacci retracement here. I need to pull this up actually a little bit. Yeah, that's insignificant here, but we can see here that we have the 200 SMA here, and that's exactly a key level also that we want to continue holding as support, and that is right around 90,300. So therefore, we want to really see a close above 91,300, while we can expect, or we can assume that there's potential that we fall below this level on a trading basis here on the daily chart and reach somewhere around the 200 SMA here, get a bounce from there, and then it becomes important that we stay above 91,300 on a daily closing basis. To the upside here, also very clear to see, we want to break the prior high here of this range, right around 98,400 basically on a daily closing basis. That would then send us up here to these key levels of 102K to 106K, and above there then of course everything free towards new all-time highs. And yeah, guys, I'll get into oscillators afterwards as well, but I just want to get into the 4-hourly chart before that as well, and then we wrap it up with some RSI and stochastic momentum reads. Right here we can see a very clear trend that has been forming here for Bitcoin. Right, you can see here this clear trend line coming from all these touch points here in this current uptrend that originated here out of the 91,500 region. So therefore, once again, this would be the bottom here if we lose this trend here, right? We can see here very clearly that we've been printing higher highs and higher lows here in this channel basically, right? And currently we're still holding here the previous, the low, right? We're still sitting above the previous higher low here. So this area becomes very interesting here between the 50 and the 61.8. So if you look at the 50, that is of course the key level that we want to stay above here from a bullish perspective to continue in this channel here. But there's potential that we shoot wicks below there, as we have done here multiple times in this trend alone, right? And that area here becomes very, very important. You can see here, this area, we have the 61.8 from the retracement here of this current swing low to swing high. Right, always the line in the sand before we drop to the 78.6, and also the line in the sand here to keep this trend aligned. We really want to get a bounce from there and then close back above the 50, which aligns perfectly here as well with the channel. And if we look at this here as well, we take this line down here, then we can see here that's also on a closing basis the prior range tops, right? So very strong area here. There's potential once again that we move slightly below there, but we really want to pick up massive demand in that area and not continue going downwards to the 78.6. Otherwise, we have early indication that this trend here is broken, that we're going back to the roots of the trend, and that lays here in this key area between 92K and 91,300 here. You see that number again here, of course, coming from historic support and resistance. So really strong area below here, and then we want to continue back up here and on a 4-hourly closing basis stay above here, 92,500, of course, coming from the 38.2 of this entire uptrend retracement here after we saw the golden cross here on the 4-hourly chart that of course had a 100% hit rate to signal massive rallies for Bitcoin throughout this bull market so far. And yeah, guys, very, very strong indication here that we have a very strong support level here, that we might have a pullback to this area. And if this area here then breaks 94,000, right around 95K on the dot, right? If we start closing below 94,800, then it's likely that we start falling below here and get into the 91 to 90K region. And that's where it then becomes decisive for the midterm for Bitcoin. And of course, then we are more likely, if we lose that level on a daily closing basis, guys, and go down once again to 87 to 89K, then it becomes very likely that we move sideways and down here throughout the summer before then continuing upwards in autumn, winter sometime. That's just based on statistics. And yeah, therefore these levels are very important. And that's basically it here, guys. To the upside, we can see if we do find a bounce here, then of course it becomes clear that we want to continue here printing higher lows and higher highs. And therefore we need to break 97,400 here on a 4-hourly closing basis to continue upwards here in this trend and print new highs in the current uptrend for Bitcoin. Now let's go back to the weekly chart and look at some oscillators as well. Here we can see that the weekly chart is pretty bullish from a stochastic momentum perspective. We see here on the RSI on the bottom as well, we have two drives of hidden bullish divergence. So here we can see that we printed, of course, the top from that prior range in alignment here with the top on the RSI, right? And it has been downsloping, while then the next top here has been, of course, a higher high, while it's been a lower high on the RSI, therefore giving us bullish divergence here. And we can see that we now crossed the moving average here again, giving us still room to the upside here to revisit the overbought territory in alignment here also with that trend line. So likelihood that this trend here continues upwards, of course, on the smaller time frames along the way, we can see that there's likelihood for a bit of a pullback. But from this perspective, also from the stochastic momentum perspective, when we see the last time Bitcoin came down here into the oversold territory and then crossed the moving average here, you can see we've done this multiple times. We came out of this area here, crossed the moving average, then we saw a big rally here. Then once again here, came into the overbought territory, crossed the, oversold territory, crossed the moving average, followed by a massive rally. And yeah, and guys, now we're expecting something similar here, just based on this data. And we see that a lot of things are lining up for mid to long-term bullishness, but potential bearishness for the short term, a potential pullback. And then you know exactly now what the levels are that we just covered on all the time frames, basically, to confirm whether we're continuing in the local uptrend or whether we're going down towards 89 and 87K. And if we revisit that area, then it becomes likely that we also revisit the current lows or go at least towards 80 to 81K before then we continue upwards after the summer. Right, guys, and then we look at it here also from the other time frames, what the oscillators are doing over there. Here we can see that the 3-day is now actually in massive overbought territory. But if we look back, that doesn't mean anything. Usually we get the big moves inside of the extreme areas of oversold or overbought. And there if we look at it here in this previous instance, for example, we can see here we reached overbought, but we then continued upwards. And then even when we dropped out of the overbought territory, we still continued here to print new all-time highs. So this doesn't mean much. And here we can see on this, on the RSI actually, that we're nowhere near that yet. We crossed the moving average. We're still pointing upwards here. Well, now it's pointing down, but we're still here in an uptrend for the RSI. So likelihood is here as well that this still continues upwards here towards the overbought territory as well. And then it becomes interesting where we are at from a price perspective as well. Smaller time frames here. Here also we have actually, we also have hidden bullish divergence. If we see here these tops, if we connect them as well on the 3-day chart, down sloping trend line, whereas we have a up sloping trend line in the price. So the same thing here as on the weekly chart, basically. Smaller time frames here. Now on the daily chart, we can see that we're coming here out of overbought territory, pointing downwards, drop below the moving average, pointing at a pullback. So smaller time frames looking rather bearish from this perspective, as well as here the RSI just dropped below the moving average again, just below the overbought bought territory, and therefore this is indicating a bit of a pullback as well and lines up nicely with the price action as well. So once again, the key levels come into play where we need to find support across the timeframes that I covered earlier. And now the last time frame here to wrap it up as well. You can see that the 4-hourly chart here is coming out of overbought territory on the stochastic momentum, while the RSI is pretty neutral, right around the middle band now here, still in a downtrend though. So interesting to see if we can find a bounce here. Then we are, of course, expecting that this turns up here again. And then, of course, if we continue here in this overbought territory, oversold territory, we have likelihood that the trend continues up, downwards a little bit here. You can see previous instances we reached oversold territory, but the price continued to go down even as we exited the area. So yeah, guys, always, whenever we look at any oscillators, any moving averages or price action in general and candlestick patterns and so on, the larger the time frame, of course, the more weight it carries. As the smaller the time frame, everything can flip pretty quickly. Yeah, and that's basically it, guys. Not much to add here. I'll keep you updated on everything. If I see anything interesting in the charts, of course, here over on X, I've not been that active recently, as I've been working on a lot of other stuff as well simultaneously on the website and a few other projects that I'm involved in. So I'll make sure to keep you updated more on X over as well once I get used to the schedule and to actually post the videos at the same time every day, which is quite demanding, but I'm figuring it out and making sure that it becomes part of my day. Also to make it easier for you guys to know exactly when everything is airing. And yeah, that's basically it here, guys. Now I'm gonna just go through my notes quickly, see if I forgot anything. But I think that's basically it. Yeah, guys. So once again, everyone new to the channel, massive thanks for joining. If you enjoyed the analysis, make sure to follow and also make sure to sign up over on Bitcoin Easy. Everything over there for now is still free and will remain free for a lifetime for anyone that's signed up now. If we reach, or when we reach 10,000 followers here or subscribers on YouTube, I will start putting out premium content as well. But everything else that has been available until this point will stay for free for anyone who is signed up to the site. So guys, it takes you a second. You just go to Bitcoin Easy.io, click up here. You just need to drop your name. You can even make that up and drop an email address. And then you're sorted for life to have access to everything that's available there now. Soon we're also opening the Crypto Mastery Group, which will be a free group for beginners where I will be involved as well myself a lot, posting charts and tutorials. So you guys can really get started. And for anyone who's completely new to the channel, go here to get started in the menu. There you can see the free crypto starter pack. That's basically all the guides and tools that you need to get started on your journey. And today, actually, I'm working with Josh again. We're making another video. I want to have 2 videos ready before I start the series. Last week, as I told you, this week, Thursday, we had a few technical difficulties. After recording the video, we found out that the audio is completely crap and I didn't have time to re-record. Therefore, that video is dropping next week. And that, of course, is Trading 101, the journey from beginner to successful trader, where I'm taking Josh from basically very little knowledge to becoming a successful trader. And we also attach a bankroll challenge to that video series where we're aiming at turning $100 into 10K to the end of summer. I'm really excited for that one. And we're working on it today again. And tomorrow I'm back with new videos. We're looking at the CME chart. Of course, there's a gap that still remains to be filled with this, which is also within the area that we're looking to get support right now for Bitcoin. And yeah, and I'll update you exactly on what happened, how the week opens and everything. We look at the charts and yeah, that's it, guys. Not much to add here. Hope you all have an awesome Sunday and thanks for watching. And I also have to mention, this is not financial advice, purely for educational purpose. And hopefully you got some entertainment out of it as well. So yeah, guys, I'm out of here. And as always, happy trading and see you soon.